Let's continue our Pandas series. So in this video, we are going to have a look at columns. Our focus is going to be columns. We'll look at how to select different columns and how to add new columns, how to drop our existing columns. Let's get started. I've already entered 2 lines of code, import pandas as PD, and I'm reading this Iris Mini CSV, okay? Iris Mini CSV is just a trimmed down version of the CSV, which has 6 rows, okay? Now, the first thing that we know is that read CSV is how you read CSV. But if there is ID already there, then the ID does not get set properly. How do we fix that? Using the index column. Which one is index column? Our index column is ID, case sensitive, right? Now this ID is set correctly. This is something we have already seen in the previous videos. If you have not yet seen, then please go and have a look. Oh, I did not even assign it to a data frame. DF, and there we go. Now, how do we see what are the different columns which are available? Just see df.columns. If you execute this, you will see that there is SL, SW, PL, PW, and species. These are the columns which are part of data frame. And of course, ID is set as ID. So Iris dataset actually contains information about 3 different species of flowers: Iris setosa, versicolor, and virginica. Okay, and there are 4 different columns. SL is actually sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Based on these 4 features, you can actually very easily identify species of this particular flower. How do we just look at probably just a sepal length, this column SL? The answer is very simple. Use square brackets and just look at SL. That's it. Okay. Now, in data frame, there are many things that you can actually pass. Number one, you can pass a string just like that. Let's say that I want to look at the column name, just like that. Now, if you want to select multiple columns, then what we can do is we can actually pass a list. Let's create a list here very quickly. Sepal length and let's say sepal width is what we want to look at. We can actually pass a list here. Now, here comes the interesting part. You will not see this code, this sort of code, because it is very easy to just take this value directly and being pasted here like that. The result is same, right? Now, how do you create new columns? Let's say that you want to create a new column using the same information which is here, just hypothetical, right? What you can do is you can type in the column name, whatever you want. Now, if you look at data frame, we have a new column added called sepal length, right? Similarly, if you want to add a new column, let's say ratio, I'm calling it a ratio, and this ratio is, let's say, the ratio of sepal length and let's say petal length. And if you look at DF now, we have a ratio column added. Let me show you one more interesting thing. If you pass a single value, that single value will be used to fill the entire column. Okay, we have unnecessary columns. Let's drop those columns. I'm saying drop those columns. That should give you some hint that the function that we use to drop a column or delete a column is actually called a drop. Okay. Now, if I press Shift Tab, you can see parameter. What are the columns that you want to drop? That is the first parameter that you send. The second parameter is the axis. Now, what is this axis? And also note that by default axis is set to 0. Let's say that I want to drop this column. Yeah, the column X, nonsense column, right? Let's delete it. Let's try to drop it and it will not work. And let's see the error. It will be typically on the last one. Key error is X not found in the axis. Axis, whenever you think of axis, think row and column. So row is 0, column is 1. So if I set axis equals 1, then actually I am dropping the column. Okay. Now if I look at the DF, original DF, this column is still here. Why? If you remember, we have in most of the data frame functions, we have something called in place, and you have to set in place to true. Only in that case, this change will be propagated to the actual data frame. And this is by design, because in most of the times you are just, you just want to play around with certain data. You don't want to change the original data. That's why we have this. Now, what if I want to delete multiple columns? This is how we selected multiple columns, right? Something similar is what we are going to do. Let's create a list. This list is going to be name of the columns. This is my list. Now, what I can do is I can pass this entire list, okay? And then remember that axis has to be 1, 0 for row, 1 for column. It will not change unless I do in place equals true. Okay, this is now df. Now, just to keep the video short, I'm going to stop here. In the next video, we are going to talk about few more fun things. Like, for example, we have seen how we can select columns. We'll see how we can select rows or even some portion of this data frame. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next one.